Yes, good morning, everyone. We'll be getting our webinar probably in another 2 minutes or so. And if you have any questions, we'll have a question and answer at the end, or you can actually type in notes. And if we don't get to it, we'll send you a recording of the webinar and the answers to all the questions probably in a day or so. All right. Well, first of all, I want to thank everyone for attending our webinar this morning. I just wanted to briefly go over who I am, Blinkai. I think most of the people attending know who Blinkai is, but my name is Victor Liu. I'm the president of Blinkai Technologies. We're a 25-year-old outsourced IT provider based in Morris Plains. And it's my pleasure to welcome Leif McKinley from Datto. And just want to mention, so Datto is our preferred backup and business continuity solution. Nearly 100% of our clients are on a Datto solution. All our engineers are trained on the Datto solution. And it's really our go-to solution for both physical, virtual servers, and more recently, Leif will go over it, we're using them for our SaaS, software as a service service, which means we're backing up Google Apps, Office 365 for clients as well. So Leif, I'll let you take over.
Perfect. Thank you, Victor. And thanks, everyone, for attending. So as Victor mentioned, my name is Leif McKinley. And I'd like to start off all my presentations with a little quote. This is on all my business cards, and I'm a little bit of a sports person, so this quote really kind of rings home to me. But the quote is, "Perfection is not attainable, but if we chase perfection, we can catch excellence." And I think this is a great quote across everything, but I especially like it when it comes to business continuity. There is no solution out there that's going to be the perfect solution that's going to stop a disaster from ever happening. But what we can do is we can strive for a perfect solution. And when we do that, we can come up with a really, truly excellent solution that can cover a lot of your needs and make sure that all the major gaps that you have are covered. So with that, kind of want to dive into a little bit of, kind of start off by educating you on Datto. What is Datto? Who are we? We were founded in 2007. We are a 100% channel-only company, and that means that we work strictly through our resellers and our partners, such as Victor and Blinkai Technologies. This slide actually is slightly outdated. We're actually over 900 employees now, so 900 employees and growing worldwide. And a big part of that is that 70% of those employees are in support and development. And you might be kind of wondering, how does that concern me? Well, it's important because if you do utilize a Datto solution, you can know that in the future, your solution will not only be getting better on the development side of things, but will always be working to make sure that the solution is working seamlessly on the support side of things. We don't dump all of our resources into sales, but it's in supporting the solution that's out there. In addition to that, we have over 250 petabytes of data in our clouds. We've got 9 data centers across or around the world, as well as 9 different offices. And when we are backing up to our data centers, we are protecting our data centers with SSA 16 SOC 2 certified data centers, and we do give access to AES 256 bit level encryption. So we're fully protecting that data, and data is what we do. So we know how to handle it and know that you are in good hands with us. So here are a list of our data centers. When backing up in the US and in Canada, we like to give our partners access to bi-coastal data centers, making sure that you have geographic redundancy. But we also do have, data centers around the world. So if you do have other offices in countries around the world, we can help in backing up that data as well. So I want to start out in giving you a little bit of background on what is business continuity. And I want to start out by comparing it with traditional backup. Now, where you're going to see the big difference here is you can essentially think of business continuity as the smart solution, and that's all provided for you by the agent. It's not that business continuity is going to be that much more complex than traditional backup, and in fact, if you do decide to move forward with a Datto solution, you might even find that a business continuity solution such as ours might be even more simple than some traditional backup solutions. But here are some of the points that you want to take into consideration. Traditional backups, when it comes time to restoring, depending on where you're restoring that data, take a long time to restore. If you're working with a business continuity solution, the goal is to have the data as ready as possible for you. In some instances, you're going to be able to restore that data in seconds. In regards to traditional backup, it's a high risk of failure. It's very much a manual process. You have to be involved in every step of the way. Again, I mentioned business continuity is a smart solution. It's automated. You set it up to take backups on a set schedule and sync data offsite in a set schedule, and it will do that. It's difficult to set up your traditional backups and get them working properly and make sure that they are, in fact, the solution is taking good, valid backups. With a business continuity solution, you should have some sort of testing in place where it will automatically go in and test those backups. So again, it's go in and is doing that work for you. With traditional backup, you've got data backups are at risk in only one location. So a lot of times you're sending your data off to one site. You're not getting, like I mentioned earlier, buy close-up data centers, making sure that you have 2 copies of your data. For business continuity, that's critical. We've seen complete, coasts go down with disasters. A hurricane can destroy, the entire East Coast. And if something like that happens, to know that I've got a copy of my data elsewhere, it's critical. With traditional backup speeds are slower, whereas business continuity, that agent is taking smart, efficient backups. Going more into the agent, difficult to prioritize what it is that you're trying to back up with traditional backup. Whereas with business continuity, you can say, I want this server to back up more. I want you to prioritize this server. This server is making more backups, and these are more critical. In regards to conversions, and this comes down to actually restoring your data, with your traditional backup solution, you could easily have to go from a physical to a virtual solution when it comes time to restore that data. It's not going to back up natively in a format that's usable. A business continuity solution will. It knows that when you have a disaster, we need to access that data as soon as possible. And then in regards to traditional backup, you're going to get limited options in terms of compliance. It's not going to protect your data as significantly as a solution such as a business continuity solution. Business continuity solutions are going to encrypt your data not only locally, but while that data is in transit, while it's resting off-site, knowing that any point in that process is a possible vulnerability, and we need to protect it throughout that entire trip. So that's kind of a little rundown. Those are things you can see out of business continuity. And as I mentioned, business continuity, it appears to be that smart solution. It's doing everything that you need, and it's doing it for you for the most part. So now that we know what business continuity is, let's look at why it is that we need business continuity. And here are a couple of pictures. I wanted to make it a little bit lighter since I'm sure you guys did a lot of reading on that last screen. So just want to start out with 24/7, 365 IT systems. I'm sure everyone here on the call has gone home at one point or another and looked at your emails or remoted into the office to access data. Our systems are now, they need to be online 24/7. There can't be time where our systems are down. We need to access them all the time, and we need to make sure that they are in fact always up and running. Our systems are as critical now as ever. When someone has a question, they expect those questions to be answered in a timely fashion. When it comes to Office 365, for example, and making sure that you have access to that SaaS data. Making sure that if you need to utilize an application from home, that's going to be up and running. So these systems are always running, and to have a point in time, not only during business hours, but also after business hours where the systems are down, it's not acceptable nowadays. Cost of downtime is also too high. So if I'm sure as business owners, you've gone through, you've done the calculations of how much is my business losing if we're down. That number is growing as we move forward. As the days go on, that number is going up and up. And it's not only on the finance side of things, and I'm sure there's a lot that goes into that number that you might not have even thought of. But in addition to that, say someone goes to your website and you are in retail and they're looking to buy something, but they can't get into your website. Your web server's down, and so they're unable to get into your site, and because of that, they go to another retailer and get the product there. That could be a client that you've lost for life. So it's not just cost of business in terms of what you lose in terms of that revenue in that period, but you could lose clients for life, and if your systems end up being down. So those are also costs that need to go in, and the cost of not having your business open is just too high. Next, file level backup being not sufficient. If you are protecting your data and you are just sending your data off to the cloud as files, it can take way too long to bring that data down. It's not efficient, it's not effective, and your business could be bleeding while you're waiting for that data to come down. There are better ways to do that recovery than file level backup. SMBs are also demanding more. So as companies, small to medium businesses have more reliance on their data than large businesses. And the reason that I say that is that larger businesses have many more sources of revenue coming in. They have more cushion. They've got more capital that they can fall back on. Small to medium businesses don't necessarily have that. They have to rely on that data. And if they lose that data, there's nothing they can fall back on to say, okay, well, we can leverage this aspect of our business while we're putting this part of our business back together. Small to medium businesses don't have that luxury. And because of that, they need reliable solutions that will always keep them up. There's also more security threats than ever. There are businesses out there that are designed to get into your systems, designed to lock you out of your systems, designed to make money off of you. And again, those threats are ever increasing. And last is speed of recovery. The speed of recovery, the technology is there, it's affordable, and again, it can keep you running when nothing else can. And that fast speed of recovery is, if it's available for you at an affordable cost, leverage it to help save your business. So, want to touch on a couple of questions that, as a backup and business continuity vendor, we like to have our partners asking other vendors that they work with these questions. So we suggest, as someone who's looking to provide business continuity to your clients, these are questions that you should be asking other vendors. Likewise, though, we think that as someone who's utilizing a business continuity solution, you should be asking your managed service providers these questions, because these are questions that are going to determine how robust is my solution. So first, do you provide a hybrid cloud backup solution? So are you going to provide me with usable copies of my data, not only locally where I can use them quickly, but also in the cloud where they're going to be protected? Can you provide my client with instant local virtualization? So in the event of a disaster, can I spin up my machines instantly so that I can minimize downtime, so that I can be up in seconds and be up and running, and essentially have my company have no knowledge that there was ever really even a disaster. Can you provide proof of backup? So is there a way that you can say, hey, you have a good backup. Here it is. Here's a copy of your screenshot, or here's a copy of some code that we were able to log in and run some applications. Do you virtualize offsite? So not only can we recover and restore those images locally, but can we spin those up offsite? Can we access those in the cloud in the event that we have a total site disaster? Do you deliver an offsite sync method that manages bandwidth? And that can be seen in a couple of different ways. There are two different points where we see end clients that struggle with bandwidth. One is getting initial backups offsite. So do you have a seeding method where we can get that data offsite without using bandwidth? But then also, once we've taken backups, do you have a way that we can prioritize which of our backups is synced up and which of our machines stay caught up first? Both of those are critical. Do you have multiple data centers? So are there geographic data centers so that there is no total geographic disaster that's going to render your cloud backups useless? Do you offer flexible contracts and upgrade policies? So is there ways that I can grow with you as a business continuity provider, or will I have to go out and buy brand new pieces of hardware all the time? Do you provide US-based tech support? So do you provide a support that you'll be able to reach out to 24/7 that's sourced locally to you? Do you focus exclusively on the channel? And this is critical to us because when in regards, I mentioned earlier, we are 100% channel only. That means that we are dedicated to providing a solution that is easy to use for managed service providers, such as Victor and his team over here. And if you're working with a managed service, if you're working with a managed service provider to work on your backups, you want to make sure that the solution that you're using is designed for them to manage best. And that's what we focus on. So, making sure that there's nothing conflicting within that vendor. They're not working on a solution that's geared towards companies that have huge internal IT that's kind of spread out. What we want is a solution that's geared for managed service providers if you are in fact going to be working with managed service providers. The last is, do you provide intelligent business continuity? And essentially, if you say yes to 1 through 9, then you can check off 10 because that will kind of cover all of your bases. So now that we've looked into what is business continuity, why do we need it, what questions do we need to ask, we need to look at rethinking backup. And that's what Datto does here on our end. So this is a kind of an image of our entire suite of solutions. And some of this is regarding data, some of it's regarding network connectivity. All of this can be, you can learn more about all of this through Victor and his team. However, I'm going to kind of briefly touch on some of this. Datto Drive is a kind of a file sync and share solution. You might be familiar with Dropbox. It's a solution to kind of compete with that. So it's a very efficient and cost-effective alternative to that. Where we've been focusing, though, is right here under the physical and virtual server side of things. The Cirrus, Alto, NAS, the different agents that we offer. That is where the business continuity side of things comes into play on the local machine side of things. So when it comes to the local virtualization, the offsite virtualization, the bi-coastal data centers, that is the Cirrus, Alto, and the NAS solutions. And those are those are going to provide you with different functionality on the data protection side of things, but those are the data protection products. We also provide you with network business continuity, so we provide you with network failover. Again, you can discuss that more with Victor down the road. Here, I do want to focus on the data side of things. When it comes to cloud servers, so if you are hosting in a third-party data center, at this point, we don't support it at the AWS and the Azure side of things. It is something that we are definitely working on a solution. We understand the value there, but most smaller third-party vendors will allow you to drop in a virtual appliance, and we have the ability to back that up. And I would say one of the biggest growing needs is this last one, the SaaS applications. We provide partners the ability to back up these SaaS applications, and the important thing here is that when you utilize a SaaS application, a lot of people leverage them because they think that they are more secure. They are in the sense that they're going to provide you with hardware redundancy. However, it's just as easy to delete data from the cloud as it is locally off of your devices, and it's less protected in the cloud. So with that, we provide you the ability to provide extra protection. So with that said, kind of want to dive into what we see in terms of disasters. So when I say business continuity and disasters, a lot of people are thinking tornado, fires, floods, hurricanes, these natural disasters, these disasters that strike, they're catastrophic, and they really truly are awful. They are a lot of times when you're going to have total site disasters. But more often than not, these are not the disasters that we see. These are not the disasters that we're protecting partners from or we're restoring partners from. We're restoring them from human error. So that is the absolute biggest threat that you're going to see in terms of disasters. And I mentioned that SaaS applications, it's as easy to delete stuff out of the cloud as it is off of the local appliance. That's one of the big reasons why we need protection for SaaS applications. 1 in 3 companies that are using SaaS data end up losing data, or use a SaaS solution end up losing data. So it's a real threat. 33% of people are losing data in a solution that they thought was more secure, and the truth is it's not. And so you might be wondering, how can this data happen? Well, 47% of data loss is caused by end user deletions. You delete something now, you think, oh, a month from now I'm going to be able to restore that data. Well, Google's only going to protect your data for 28 days. So, those are the types of things where if you delete data, you could be out that data 30 days down the road. Where if you bring in a solution like the Backup 5 product, you can protect that data separately. 13% of data loss is caused by hackers and viruses. So a lot of people are also thinking, oh, it's the cloud. These companies are technology companies. They're not going to allow my data to be corrupted. Well, viruses can get into those cloud networks as easily as they can get into your local networks. If there is an access point into the network, there is a way for a virus or a hacker to get in. And a lot of times it could be done by someone within your company clicking on a link. I can't remember the exact stat, but there's a large number of employees that will click on absolutely any link that's sent to them. And it's not something that they do knowingly. They click into an email, they see the link, oh, I need to access this link. And before you know it, that virus can be sent off to the cloud. So 13% of that data, again, caused by hackers and viruses, that is still able to get up into the cloud. And then 7% of that data is caused by malicious deletions. You may or may not have seen this, but a departing employee, when they leave, if you don't end up removing their credentials fast enough, they can log in, they can start deleting data. Even someone that hasn't left, if someone has plans of leaving, they can remove data before they leave. So making sure that you're backing that up so that anybody that's trying to do anything malicious doesn't get that opportunity is critical. So those are some of the big reasons why it is important to back up that SaaS data. Although you are not managing that data locally, there's no reason why you shouldn't have a separate independent copy of that data saved in a different data center so that anything that's happening in that production environment is not necessarily final. You can always restore that data. So in looking at that, you might be thinking, am I really at danger for some of these hacks and viruses? Am I really in danger for deleting my data? Well, when it comes to one of the biggest threats out there, I would say yes, you are in danger. And I'm sure everyone out there has heard of some variation of ransomware. Well, ransomware is out there, and there are a couple ways in which you can get around ransomware, because it's not a question of if ransomware is going to strike you, it's a question of when it will strike you. So this is definitely something that you need to keep in mind. Now, if you do have a business continuity solution, ransomware is not going to be able to hold you hostage. So bringing in a solution like one that Datto offers is critical when it comes to getting around ransomware. Now, I have got a couple of stats here that I think are good to take a look at. In the top right-hand corner, you can see 35% report ransomware attacks on cloud-based applications, including Google Apps and Office 365. Now, these numbers are generated based off of a survey that we gathered from over 1,000 partners that we work with, managed service providers. So 35% of them reported attacks on cloud-based applications. So right there, that only speaks to those stats that we saw before. 70% of whom report Dropbox being a target. So we mentioned that Dropbox or our Datto Drive solution. If you use a solution like Dropbox, that data is in danger of possibly being corrupted by ransomware. If you look at in the kind of, I guess, bottom left-hand corner, 95% report CryptoLocker attacks. Now, CryptoLocker is one of about, I guess, for me to put a number on it would not be smart, but it's one of many, many, many variations of ransomware. So 95% of MSPs are reporting that they've seen CryptoLocker, which is, again, one of these hundreds of variations. Imagine how many different instances there are out there. It's really, truly amazing. Now, if you look at the bottom, with a backup and disaster recovery, a BDR solution, 97% of businesses could recover from ransomware. Without BDR, only 68% could recover. So you have about a 40% higher chance of recovering if you have a business continuity solution. And to me, that's a no-brainer. To increase your odds of recovering your data by about 40%, I think is really, truly a fantastic odds, and I think everyone should be doing that. So I want to go into a couple of stories here. I have 3 instances of companies that had servers that had ransomware, and I kind of want to share them with you because all 3 of them are a little bit different, and they all strike slightly different tones, but all are equally as important. So this first is a dog charity. They have this woman. She runs a website where she brings in. It's kind of a dog adoption center. She runs out of the basement or out of her basement. Her server that kind of runs her website and everything was hacked and demanded a $1,500 ransom. And so here she is working out of her basement, doesn't really have any income because she's doing everything as kind of a charity. So she reaches out to these hackers and she said, I can't afford $1,500. Is there anything you can do for me? And they say, you know what, you seem like you're doing a good thing over there, but we'll drop it from $1,500 to $800. So, I mean, you're probably thinking, oh, these are nice guys. They're dropping the ransom. But ultimately, they're doing that because they know that she needs this data to continue running this charity. And they know that they can still ask for this money, and there will be, she's willing to pay that. So she ends up going to social media and going to news outlets and ends up raising this money to pay the to pay the ransom. But ultimately, the attackers know that it's very possible to hack the system again or hack other systems just like this because they got the ransom. So this just goes to show that no matter how small the organization, you can still be hacked with ransomware and held for a ransom. And it also, depending on where you go, so a lot of times when ransomware strikes, they make you pay Bitcoin, via Bitcoin. Well, it can take a long time to get Bitcoin in certain situations. And so that could be even more downtime that you're experiencing. So not only are you not making money because your systems are down, but then you have to pay out money as well. So it's kind of a double-edged sword that you're being hit with here. So the next story is not so much a financial one, but really is kind of strikes a lot of moral tunes here. So the police department down in Cockrell Hill, Texas, they had their systems hacked and they lost about 8 years worth of body cam evidence. And what this meant was that when it came time for people who were convicted of crimes to face their day in trial, there was no evidence available to use in those court cases. And a number of possibly convicted felons ended up walking free because there was not the proper evidence to lock them up because this evidence server ended up being corrupted. So this is something where not really a financial loss, but we now have criminals or possible criminals walking the streets because we didn't have the proper technology in place to protect this data. Now, the last example I want to use, I don't want you to be scared by the numbers because you might think of this example and say, oh, well, these numbers are so high they don't apply to me. But there is something that I do want you to take away from this example. So San Francisco, the Transit Authority, on Black Friday, one of the biggest traveling days of the year, had the server that processes fares struck and hit with ransomware. Now, they utilize a managed service provider, and they've gone through and they've had their managed service provider test their backups, and they know that they have good backups, but they didn't go through and they didn't ask their provider all 10 of those questions that we kind of instruct clients and MSPs to ask their vendors. And so when it came to restoring, they said, yeah, we can restore your server. It's going to be about 2 days for us to restore that server. Well, they didn't realize I don't have any local virtualization. I don't have any way to operate this server in the meantime. So over the next 2 days, they're restoring their server, but they couldn't shut down the transit authority. So what they ended up doing was on the busiest 2 travel days of the year in San Francisco, they ended up giving away the bus and train fees. So you end up looking at about 750 tickets a day, I believe it ends up being. They lost between, I think, $1.5 and $3 million. And they even had a solution that they could restore with. They just didn't confirm that it was business continuity. And so the critical thing here is that you need to make sure that you're leveraging a business continuity solution, because even a backup, one of your traditional backup solutions, can still provide you with major gaps. And we need to make sure that we're covering those gaps with a business continuity solution, so that when it comes time to collect on that $1.5 to $3 million, you're able to do that. So again, the big thing there is start thinking continuity. You know, we don't want to be thinking backup. We don't want to think we just want to protect our systems. We want to think, how are we going to restore our systems in the event of a disaster? Now, with that, we kind of go back to the Datto products. And, you know, what we provide you with is we provide you with total data protection. So no matter what it is that you're looking to back up, again, we've got that solution that competes with Dropbox. We've got the Cirrus 3 that's going to give you full virtualization. We've got the Datto NAS that can give you just kind of block storage and will replicate off-site. We've got your connectivity continuity. We've got your Office 365 and your Google Apps backup. So we can provide you with a full suite of protection. And we can not only provide you with the protection, but also the means to restore that data. So I want to touch quickly here on some benefits that Datto brings to you. So in addition to the products that total data protection, there are a couple of differences that we provide. So, you know, we've touched on the bi-coastal data centers. I think I've kind of hammered that home pretty clearly. But local and cloud virtualization. This is something that we do better than most. We back up your, again, reverting back to the agent that I mentioned earlier, we back up natively in a format that we can spin up instantly. So any virtualization that you're looking at is going to take seconds, as opposed to, in some instances, hours. We've even seen some forms of virtualization take days if you're looking at converting from, again, that physical to that virtual, compressing, you know, all that takes time. So we provide you with kind of best-in-breed local and cloud virtualization. We provide you with those, the bi-coastal data centers, easy upgrade paths. So as Victor will explain to you as you kind of explore the options, we provide you with means to grow with the solution. So it's not just a here's your box, you need to figure it out as you grow this. We're going to provide you for ways to grow with that solution, because ultimately, in our eyes, we want the clients that are using the solution to end up being successful. And the more successful you are, the more data you're going to have. The more data you're going to have, the more you're growing, and it's, you know, that self-perpetuating cycle, and that's what we want to see. And we don't want you to be handcuffed by one of our solutions. We also provide you with archiving. So for a very cost-effective sum, we're able to keep your data indefinitely, and that's another option that you can speak to Victor about, is the different archiving options that you have in the cloud. So again, some of those Datto benefits, we do eliminate downtime. That goes back to the local and cloud virtualization. Again, we're able to get those VMs spun up in seconds. We're able to automatically test the restore points. So we can do that with 2 different types of tests to make sure that you have the most inclusive test available. We can then easily track what data is changing. We have a tool that you can leverage for troubleshooting to determine where's my data changing. If I have huge swaths of data growth, where's that coming from? And then in addition to that, when it comes time to utilize the solution, you've got 24/7, 365 tech support that you can always count on to assist with the restore processes. And then going back to the total data protection, we protect data everywhere. So we have a hybrid cloud solution where we're keeping your data locally on physical appliance and replicating it offsite to our cloud. We have not only do we have that physical box, but we also have virtual appliances. If you have hypervisors that you want to leverage, we've got that SaaS solution to protect that cloud data that you might have on the Office 365 and the Google application side of things. And then, again, we have that file sync and share solution. So if you need something to replace that Dropbox solution that you have, maybe you need something with a little bit more compliance, you've got the ability to use our file sync and share service. So those are some of the benefits that you're going to get on the Datto side of things. Now, in terms of delivering those benefits to you, that's going to come from Victor and his LinkHi team. So I want to hand it over to him and kind of have him go through what it is that he's going to bring to the table on his end.
Great. Well, thank you, Leif. Well, the value add for LinkHi is one, everyone here, since it's our preferred solution, we're certified and very knowledgeable on the entire Datto product line. So we'll sit down with you and we'll size and recommend that the proper solution. But more importantly is that we white glove the Datto solution. So when you sign up with Datto through LinkHi, what we're doing is we're actually taking most of the hassle and the daily maintenance off your plate. So we do manual verification every day. So we look at the snapshots that Datto sends us. We look at the Datto appliances to make sure that you have no storage, the backups are being offside properly. On a quarterly basis, we actually restore files and folders to make sure that everything is working properly. Having a backup solution without testing is really not having a backup solution at all. And then every year, what we do is a full spin-up of your entire network, which we really have to work with the client. So the best way when we spin up, we like to spin off on a Saturday or Sunday. And really, the scenario is in case you're completely down. So we like to spin it up. We like to have department heads log into their equipment, their databases, their accounting systems, verify that everything's working. Also, we create procedures so everyone knows what to do in terms of emergency, how to log in to the Datto solution. And then during the emergency, and the emergencies, like Leif mentioned, are not really the natural disasters, even though they do happen more and more frequently. It's more hardware. It seems like every other month there's a hardware issue. So we'll spin up the Datto virtual images for you. Images could be up as soon as 15, 20 minutes. If your office is down because of power or any other reason, we'll spin up the your Datto images from the Datto data centers. Then we'll work with you to get your workers logged in remotely. And we do that. That's very infrequent, but I think this year we've done it twice. During Sandy, maybe a third of our clients were spun up in the cloud for 2-3 weeks at a time. And that's all included in our flat monthly fee. So if you sign up with Datto through LinkHi, everything is taken care of from the sizing, the daily maintenance, and then business continuity and disaster recovery. And then this slide actually, Datto is our great business continuity partner. For people who don't know, LinkHi is an outsourced IT provider. We've been around for 25 years, and we're essentially your outsourced IT provider. We'll take care of all your IT needs, from day-to-day remote support needs, your hardware, software, cloud projects, and support. And quite a few of our clients are on today, so they could speak to all the projects. We've been migrating quite a few clients from their on-premise Exchange server to Office 365. That's always coupled with the Datto SaaS solution, because it's not very well known, but Office 365 has no backup, has 90-day retention of your email. But like as Leif mentioned, most data loss is done by someone inadvertently deleting their data, or some sort of corruption, or malicious act. So it's very important to have those backed up as well. And so our last slide, so if you don't have the Datto solution, we'll be happy to sit down with you over the phone or in person and do assessment and recommend the proper business continuity solution for your office. And it could be a few different solutions. It could be the Datto appliances, like the service line to back up your servers. It could also include their cloud backup, so backing up your Office 365 or Google Apps. And then they have the Datto Drive, which is like a Dropbox equivalent. That makes remote access for your employees very easy. And then finally, so if anyone signs up with the Datto product within 60 days of this webinar, we'll discount the monthly fee $100. And what we'll do now is open for any questions. Between Leif and I, I'm pretty sure we can answer most of the questions. If not, we'll find out the answers and we'll send it out to the group. So have we unmuted everyone? So we can unmute all. Okay. Are there any questions that people would like to ask right now, or we'll be happy to do individual calls and go over a unique solution for you? All right. Well, again, you can always email Victor at LinkHigh with any questions. Everyone will be receiving a copy of the webinar shortly, and also any questions that we receive later on, we'll post answers to the group. So I want to thank everyone for attending, and thank you very much.